Episode 8 of Reacher Season 3 starts with Reacher coming to the realization that he's walked right into a trap. A whole bunch of armed guards arrive at the yard, but Reacher dives headfirst into the firefight. Duffy is here too, along with the ATF agents rolling in to give a helping hand. After clearing the yard, Reacher and the others set off for the party, with Quinn's men dead and word sent over to Quinn himself confirming that everything has been dealt with. He's none the wiser to the firestorm coming his way. The deal hasn't gone down yet, and unfortunately Reacher is loath to sniper Paulie with Neely's expertise, given gunshots will spook those nearby and blow their cover completely. Now, given Quinn's men were ordered to take the trucks back in order to transport weapons to the buyers, it makes sense to follow the plan but pose as the truckers themselves as they head into the estate. That way they can sneak in undetected, get Richard and Teresa to safety, stop the buyers and then deal with Quinn. Oh, and of course the huge muscly elephant in the room is Paulie. Reacher decides he's going to handle that one personally. The gang managed to drive the trucks down to the estate, but Paulie catches onto them and it inevitably leads to a big fight breaking out between Reacher and Paulie. When a shell falls on them both, Reacher winds up knocked out and Paulie is the first one up, leading him to wrap a chain around Reacher's neck and string him up off the ground, believing the job is done. Reacher does manage to break free though and stumbles after Paulie, who can't quite believe that the big man is still alive. They fight down to the edge of the estate and eventually tumble into the water below. It's a nice touch given this was foreshadowed earlier in the season, with Harley discussing the riptides and how difficult it is to survive in the water. The pair fight, eventually leading to Reacher coming out on top after hitting Paulie in the throat and watching him fall to the depths. Job done. Well, for a bit anyway. Just like with Paulie, this time it's Reacher's turn to exasperate as Paulie comes out the woods, limping up the road. We've seen the mounted machine gun in the booth a few times across the season, with lingering shots whenever anybody passes the area. This time, Reacher gets the last laugh, having pulled a bullet from the belt and plugging it into the barrel. Paulie grabs the gun and, after a few smart-ass comments, fires the gun and wham, he's killed. At the same time, the others head inside and with Neely posing as a worker, they manage to suss out where the buyers and Richard are located. Neely intends to head upstairs, get Richard and Teresa and get the hell out of there. Now Billy is also here and he gets caught in the bathroom by one of the guards. It prompts a big fight to break out between them, which Richard happens to overhear given it's inside the bathroom above his room. With Paulie dead, inside the house, Duffy manages to find Teresa. However, the Russian buyer also manages to worm his way inside the room, intent on taking advantage of the drugged up girl. Before he can have his way with Teresa, Duffy comes out of hiding and holds him up at gunpoint. Given he's caught quite literally with his pants down, Duffy shoots him in the privates, grabs Teresa and scrambles out the room. It doesn't take long for all hell to break loose at the party and Quinn seizes an opportunity to take off. He holds Richard up at gunpoint, but Beck, sporting the gun that Richard got him for his birthday, shows up and stops his son from dying. Unfortunately, Beck is shot dead within minutes, but he does save his son's life in the process. As Quinn scarpers outside, the Russians, led by Taktarov, show up and immediately grab him. This doesn't go over well with Reacher though, who implores the men to stop what they're doing. A standoff then ensues between the two teams, with Neely trying to bargain with them all, deciding to switch the money for Quinn. This does the trick, given the Russians only really came here for the money and the deal was pretty much done, and they eventually drive off, leaving Quinn with Reacher. Alone, Reacher speaks to Quinn and reminds him of Dominic Cole. This jogs Quinn's memory enough for Reacher to pull the trigger, just as a realization hits the man's eyes. With Quinn dead, Reacher speaks to Richard and offers him a way out of this life. He hands over the car keys and tells him to take whatever money is stashed in the house and leave, hit the road to parts unknown. This was always Richard's wish, of course, which we learned earlier in the season when they were sitting outside having ice cream together. There, Richard obviously spoke about how he always dreamed of getting away from the house, and now that the proverbial birdcage is open, he can spread his wings and fly off to parts unknown. Just before he goes though, Reacher gives him some advice, telling Richard that dwelling on the past is never a good thing. And of course the irony here is that Reacher does the exact same thing himself and has done all season long. Duffy is also moving on from her role too, and Reacher offers her a chance to take a stab at being a PI. For now though, Duffy is going to take some time to chill, but she has covered for Reacher and Neagley though, reinforcing to the ATF that they acted in self-defense and were brought in by Duffy for this case. She also reinforces to Reacher that they're just not meant to settle down together, but she does tell Reacher to keep his head down. Goodbyes are exchanged here and both Richard and Reacher hit the road, heading off in separate directions. Teresa is also free to go too, of course, and Duffy brings her back to her grandma in a touching scene. As the episode closes out, Reacher hits the road, ready for more adventures to come in season 4. So Reacher bows out with a really solid finale, wrapping up all the loose ends and seeing all roads lead to Beck's estate for the final showdown. The fight between Paulie and Reacher was well shot and featured nice little bites of humour and storytelling too, working to solidify that these two are actually pretty evenly matched, and smarts always come out ahead of brawn. The mounted machine gun turns out to be the undoing of Paulie though, who gets too cocky and winds up killing himself in the end. It's quite ironic too, especially as the big guy started the fight by initially saying no guns to Reacher, believing he could easily just squash Reacher. Alas, that's not how things have obviously played out, and by the end of the fight where he starts to get desperate and realises that they are quite evenly matched, he shows his true colours. Meanwhile, we get a consistent arc for Duffy, a nice send-off for Billy as he returns to his wife, and Richard gets to explore the world and leave the estate just like he always wanted. And that's before mentioning the satisfying payoff for Quinn too. All of this is a very simple storytelling techniques, but it's executed incredibly well here. It's no surprise that this show is one of Amazon's biggest hits, and with 29 Reacher books in total, let's hope we get many more seasons to come. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.